Hello and welcome everybody. Today we're together with Mr. Bauer and we're talking about his fasting experience at our clinic Buchinger Wilhelmi in Überlingen. Welcome, Mr. Bauer.
Hello, thank you for having me.
First of all, of course, how are you doing?
I'm very good in my 10 days, so I have 5 more to go. And I'm very positive and very structured and very focused, and I'm feeling good.
That's the perfect thing. First of all, maybe you can talk about yourself and tell about your person, and then we'll talk about your fasting experience.
So I'm very good about eating everything what is around food and restaurants because that's my DNA. I grew up in a restaurant and I was running several restaurant chains. There may be some brands you would know, like Vapiano, for example. Now I'm a ketchup cook in Tuscany, which brings me every month to Tuscany with a lot of pasta and pizza, and then we're cooking our ketchup there. And that's also main motivation for me to find a balance between this life, which is completely surrounded about food and restaurants. And it's very difficult for us restaurant people, for us foodie, to even imagine a day without food.
And then it's even more interesting to say that you say, okay, I take my time off, and then I'm not going to experience that and going to do a fasting. What was the motivation to do that?
So I'm here the second time and I have the same motivation as the first time. There's one big difference. At the first time I was really scared because if you tell somebody you cannot eat for 10 days, it's like a huge mountain in front of you where you say, I don't even know how I can climb up there. So the first time I was really nervous. Now I was not nervous because I already knew that I can do it, but the motivation was both times the same. I made a decision at home and said, fine, I reached now a weight and it becomes a burden. So for me, the first time it was 115, now it was like 105. And I make a decision, say, okay, now we don't eat so much, or I eat less, or I don't eat, and I make a cautious decision, but I cannot follow it because all the surrounding is basically screaming, eat me, eat me, eat me. So I need to prove myself in the first time, and also now I can do it, but I can only do it in German you say Geschützte like a protected environment, where you can really focus, where you know that you're also in good hands, where you have the doctors and the nurses to be sure that you're in good shape, and where all the others are doing it. So if you don't eat in the real world, you're a stranger. If you don't eat here, you're not a stranger, it's normal. So I think it's very needed for people who want to lose weight or who want to start taking care that they do that, to have a marking point, a start point of their journey of a different lifestyle. Obviously, it's not done because you need to follow up, you need to change your lifestyle, but it's the perfect kickoff. And it worked for me because I was here 3 years ago. It worked 2 years fantastic. Then last year was a little shit year and it went up again. But it works because you get the tools here. Also, I think your subconscious mind says, okay, it works. I can live with less food. I can live with no food, and I'm focused, very productive. I'm very free in my thinking. So it works. It's even better than with eating. But I think you need to have that as a starting point. I admire everybody who can do that alone at home. It's not for me. I need that professional surrounding here.
But you said, I mean, we're doing an interview and you're doing really good. And what did you say, in your 10th day of fasting?
Mm-hmm.
So it's perfect. What I find very important is that you said it's not only about weight loss, but to find a starting point to do a change of lifestyle. What do you think are the points that you can take home with yourself?
I think to the first part of the question, I think every time you want to change something in life, you need to have a crisis or a disruption. If everything goes normal, I think the human mind, the human soul is not able to change because there's no need to change. So I think all the time when people change, there happens something. They get ill, they have a divorce, there's whatever, but there's a disruption. And if there's no disruption from the outside world, you need to create this disruption. And coming here as a disruption, it's nothing bad. It's just a completely different setup than yours. When I come here, I always expect to be, it's weird, I don't think that's the purpose, but I'm highly productive when I'm here because I'm so focused. I wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning. I go to the nurses, I go for a swim, and then it's 7:30 or 7:45, and I'm completely awake, completely in the day. And I always work half time here. And the other half time, I enjoy all the services. So for me, the main and the highlight of the day are the hikes. I really like them. I think the group leaders are fantastic locals who know everything, who are very empathetic, who are like very, very nice people. And it gives you the chance to connect with the people, because on fasting, some people are getting very introvert and kind of hiding in the room or being for themselves. And I think that's one of the rare moments when you walk, and I'm always a big fan of group B, because in B you can talk. In A you cannot talk because it's very steep, very fast, and you cannot talk, so there's no fun for me, so I always go group B. And there you really have the time to talk and to connect. And it's so important for me, because last time I met so many interesting people and we're still in contact, we still have our WhatsApp group, because to choose that, it's still a very niche. I know that you have a lot of guests and you have 2 clinics and soon 3 and you have a waiting list, etc. But still it's a niche. So when you meet somebody here, you have something in common, I guess. And that brings you very close to these people, to the other patient. And there, for me, I always, like last time I found great people, now I found great people. So finding other new great people is a motivation for me. The hikes are my highlight. The swims, because it's so easy, just go out and jump in and that's it. And then you really, that you can pick and choose all the therapy in one place. So this time I didn't choose so much. I think I had 5 or 6, and I always go through the book and see what is new, and then I try that, because it would be much more difficult somewhere else to get it. So for me the treatments are last. For me, the hikes and the people are more important for me personally than the treatments, because I don't have any obvious pain. It's nothing that I need. It's nice to do a massage, etc. But then I rather be outside and this beautiful surrounding the Bodensee, and it's a fantastic part of the world.
It's nice that you mentioned so many different parts of a fasting experience. There's 2 questions coming out of that. The first question is, do you think, so you think there is more to fasting than just not eating, but there's a lot more behind that? The second question would be, for me, do you think you could not reproduce a trip like that in elsewhere, where you said, well, I can go to a 5-star hotel and reproduce this. I can go on hikes. I have a swimming pool there. Don't you think that would be comparable experience? Or where do you see the difference?
The difference is that there I wouldn't be able to eat, because if I went to Patagonia and last year to Norway, and we did a lot of hikes, and I think it was a comparable experience. But then you plan your day and say, okay, what do I take on the hike? You pack your coffee in a thermos bottle, you pack your great food, and then you already plan. You come home and say, oh, I'm hungry, I need to eat. So I think hiking on fasting and hiking without fasting is completely different, because the hike outside of the fasting, the normal hikes, you really carry food, you make the breaks, etc. So it's different. And for me, the fasting is the baseline of that trip. If you take that away, yes, then you're right, then you can go to any other place. But then it's a different experience. And for me personally, other people looking maybe forward about their holiday and the great hotel and the great food, but I have that every day. That's my life. So for me to go somewhere and enjoy a great food and a great hotel is nothing special, because I do that every day for work. For me, coming here is special. And there's something happened with your mind and with your body, because the first couple of days you start feeling your body. I cannot really describe, but you start feeling it when you start fasting. And that's a very nice, feeling. And what I also like is that I haven't found any other environment which gets you so focused and so centered than fasting, because I'm not able to meditate. I'm a very jumpy person. It's very difficult for me to find peace. But I think the fasting creates a constant line of peace, which makes everything else easier. Because people always believe, or I believed before I came here the first time, everything will be so hard, or I will be so tired. I will not be able to hike. I will not be able to work. I will sleep all the day, blah, blah, blah. That's like, I was never tired here.
It's very interesting, and thank you that you put so many different aspects of fasting, which I consider also very important. So it's not only about not eating and weight loss, because there's much more behind that. Like you said, you're focused, concentrated, you have energy. And in the end, the question is, do you think you're rested and are you energetic afterwards? Because that's the idea. You want to be productive afterwards as well.
So last time it was really fantastic because first of all, I used it as a disruption and start of a new form of life. So last time I decided that I stay half a year vegan and then half a year vegetarian, which I managed, which is very difficult with my setup and with my how I grew up. I'm a son of a butcher, and suddenly to decide not to eat meat is a big step. And this was the starting point, and it kept my weight loss going down. I enjoyed the hikes at home because I didn't have the kilos to carry, etc. So it was really perfect. For this time, I decided to do no meat, no wheat, because I also need a slogan. Because if you're in the industry, you need to tell a story when you sit on the table and say why you're not eating, saying, okay, I'm on this project. And for me, that was very important because if you make it the center of the communication, you twist it and make it nice, then everybody's in. But for me, the fasting is the starting point. So the real life is afterwards. So for me, that's why the session with the nutritionist is important. It's also important, all the talks with you and the checks and the blood tests to see, okay, I'm in general fine. Everything what I'm not fine, I did to myself. So I also can take it back. That's also nice to say, okay, I'm not sick, I'm not ill. So if I become ill, it's my fault. So I could change it. And therefore, I'm always very motivated to come home and then also see how to integrate this less eating and new lifestyle in the normal environment.
This will be very interesting. Thank you. The points that you just mentioned, if somebody was asking you, I would like to fast, and what are the things that you can take home with yourself when you did a trip like this or a fasting experience like this? Maybe before, I should say, because you said we had the question maybe before, it would be important for the people to say that I was being the doctor that was able to treat you during your fasting experience. So coming back, again, the question, what are the points that you would say are like a takeaway home message for people that say, I would like to fast the first time? What would be those points?
I think for me, the first point was when you do it the first time, don't do it alone, because I think you will fail. And every time when you start a new project at work or privately and you fail, then you have a negative connotation with it. And it's very, very difficult to motivate. So I think at least one time you need to come here to experience how it works, what it does, etc. Maybe other people are stronger than me and can replicate it at home. Maybe if their life is not so centered around food. Second thing here would be to always find a routine. For me and for a lot of others, it's really the swim and the hike. But whatever it is, pick one or two things during the day which you do for your body. And the rest I really think is completely different, because you have like this whole book of treatments where you always know on which page to find it, which is very impressive. But anyway, you have this whole booklet, and I think everybody needs to pick out what goes for them. I think there's a lot of people who would enjoy the beauty things, the therapeutic things, the massage, etc. So I don't want to give any recommendation, because I think it's very personal what to pick. And I was never hungry, and I think that's if I can tell something to the people, is that you will never be hungry. And for me, this was I always thought I will be starving to death. I think sometimes in Österreich, and you say I have a gusto, like I really would like to eat, but that has nothing to do with being hungry. So I never had this feeling that I need something. I think that's the main learning. I think if you could promote that fasting is not being hungry, I think that would, because that was really what I'm scared of, because nobody wants to be hungry. I think it's a very weird feeling. And I never had that. And that is fascinating. I still don't know why, but it works.
Oh, it does. We say fasting is not starving, but you're absolutely right. And whom would you recommend to do a fasting? Are there friends who would say, oh yes, I would recommend a fasting if they ask?
Yeah, I think I'm very open with it, and I got so many credits the first time, because when I went here the first time, I was very open on LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram, and a lot of people wrote me and said, "That's so nice that you're so open. Can you tell me more?" Because I still think, especially in a business environment like where I am, when you're with entrepreneurs or other leaders of companies, most of the men in my age are overweight. But I think there's no social pressure on men. I'm only talking about men, not women. I think if you're a successful businessman, you're mid 40 and you have 100 kilo, you fit into the scenery. Yeah, it's not that there's any group pressure that you would need to lose weight. It's rather the other way around. So I think you need to make this decision by yourself, and I think that's what you build over the years and decades. That by every person coming out here, you have somebody vouching for that form of lifestyle. And I heard when we had this welcome drink, very funny welcome drink, that there was one person in the room who was here 70 times. So I think this example is he probably doesn't come here to lose weight. He comes here really because he likes that lifestyle. But my message is really, don't do it alone. Make yourself a positive experience here. And once you succeed here, then you try it alone. Circle around 2 activities outdoor. Really use that beautiful scenery, because it would be really ridiculous not to use it. Go hiking, go out, go swimming. And then find your stuff in the booklet which you like, and connect to people. Because this common eating in this saloon where you have this soup in the evening, this is so bounding together the group, because you share an experience, and you share, I think in no other hotel or environment I met so many connections than here.
Thank you for this nice summary of all the points that you experienced during our stay. I'm very interested in the points, because I'm treating you medically, in some parameters, like you said you feel overweight, high blood pressure. Did you feel any change during the 10 days of fast that you were doing now?
Definitely. I think the first time I already learned not to be so fixated on the kilos which drop. I think they have one nice parameter, which is great when you call your family and say, I lost 2 kilo, 4 kilo, whatever. But I think anyway, when you start eating, you gain a little bit back. It's more really to set the body on 0 and then make a decision on what you do afterwards. So I think last time I lost 8 kilos here, and afterwards I lost 25. That already shows the relation that it's not that important. Nevertheless, it's nice because it's immediate recognition of your body. So I think the parameter which definitely changed is the weight. So I lost 7.5 kilos so far, and I think till I leave here we'll have 10, which is a nice success. But again, it all is about what you do afterwards. What is incredible is the blood pressure, which I didn't expect the first time, that there's such a massive drop by fasting that. And I think, as I said before, I don't really have any massive other issues. So there was nothing which we monitored or expect. What was nice that we did the blood, full blood picture last time, and we did it this time, and we sat and compared it. And there was nothing going worse than last time. There was a few things which were going better. But I think there is something which you cannot measure in any KPI like kilo or blood pressure, is I think the index of well-being. And this index increased dramatically. So although I'm here without my wife, without my dog, in a not ideal setup to work, because this place is not made for work, this place is made for not work. Although I have like these 3 parameters which are rather getting well-being index down, I think I don't know, if I have to pick a number, probably increased my well-being index 50-60%. And this is just because you are more cautious with your body. And I think that's the index which really, like, I think when you walk around here, I always thought, the first time when I came here, I thought there will be very sad people. People will be depressed, will be like very gray and dark because you don't give them food. But what you see here is smiling, happy people. And I think that's that's the best thing. If I would do a commercial for your clinic, I would just film the smiles, because they're authentic, generous, genuine smiles, and these people are happy. So I am.
So thank you, Mr. Bauer, for sharing your experience with us. The last point that you mentioned concerning the well-being, I consider a very important point. It is a point, as I think, I want to achieve as a doctor, and not only to improve blood pressure, weight loss, but in the end, of course, well-being of a patient. In 2019, in one of our big studies, we could prove that in long-term fasting, especially well-being also improved. And this is also important for you people out there, that during long-term fasting, well-being can really improve. So thank you very much for looking at that video. I really hope you like it. And if you do, please leave us a comment and a like and follow our channel. Thank you very much and goodbye.
Thank you for having me here. I really enjoyed, and I will definitely follow the channel.